It all starts with urgent alert, warning that the city of Liang is suffering a heart attack. In this, several projects fall from the sky and chaos takes over, while everyone seeks some safe haven. Then, the young man spits blood and awakens the magical power that makes your whole body shine bright enough. At the city's main school, students come together to hear about the important elite class. With this, the instructor explains that the exam has 750 points of the evaluation total. He reinforces that only the top 10 students will make it into the dream special class. At this time, our protagonists think this is your only chance to become a master. Marshall, it turns out that he was in a coma for 2 years. And now he needs to make up for lost time in the party. Walking down the hall, the boy, being observed by some colleagues, badly faced another group of bullies for the brunette, and starts making fun of him coming back after so long. With a mean look, the leader of the gang asks if the kid really finds some kind of genius in it. The hero holds the arm of the baggie firmly and tell him to focus only on his own test. Without giving much attention, he releases the rival and goes on his way, leaving everyone there very surprised. The brute gets angry and wonders how the boy got so strong, so they decide, wait for the combat test to try to take down the rookie without suffering punishments. With a bizarre smile, the villain plans to end the opponent's career during the official fight. In the classroom, the student starts the written test, who asks about the history of the New World. Everything changed in the year 2842, when aliens invaded our land. With nuclear defeat, 5 billion people died, and mankind was almost extinct for good. But the radiation made the survivors evolve and reach strength level 2. In August 60, because of this, new super-strong warriors emerged and fought bravely for survival. With incredible powers, they faced the invaders and defended what was left of our planet. This event marked the end of the ancient era and the beginning of the famous calendar. Hammer, superior in that the protagonist finishes the test and sends your answers very quickly and confidently. He stays calm because you got all the questions on the test right very easily. It is revealed that the boy was not in a coma, but in a very strange and mysterious place. But the rewards of this place gave him an amazing photographic memory. And very useful. Coming home, the young man's father calls him to eat along with the rest of your family, but your sister gets the exam ticket that he dropped on the floor and the flame of clumsy. Everyone gathers at the dinner table, and the weather looks pretty calm and quiet. Then, the young man's father shows him a funny. With a smile on my face, the man explains that it is a blood powder to increase your martial test score. With this, the son says he can pass the test without needing any extra help. The father calms him down and talks so he doesn't worry, because the family can support it well. With a smile on your face, the boy understands your old father's affection and concern. Already in your room, he thinks the studio cost all the savings of your poor family, knowing it all depends on tonight. He gets ready to train very hard indeed. Right after, the hero enters an icy and desolate place inside your own mind. He says he always goes to this crystal space when he sleeps. Since your accidents, your mission there is to protect the crystal from monsters, and it always makes you very tired. He explains that if the crystal is broken, he goes into a coma for a whole day. But if you die, he wakes up the other day full of energy. At first the boy was afraid of being in a coma, but soon understood the rule to get strong. This training has made its power, mental and memory improve absurdly. Como tempo. The system warns that the next wave of monsters will arrive in just 30 seconds. That a new intense fight begins and the young man defeat all creatures with your sword. Tired, more victorious, the hero opens his panel to check your current power status. Then one notification warns that the dreaded 5th enemy order is already on the way, analyzing your attributes. He thinks he is not strong enough to get into the elite class. Suddenly, a red dragon appears and spits a neuron burst of fire towards him. The protagonist deviates and uses an ability to tear the on that creature. The beast revived with a tail whip, but the boy can dodge with agility. For of so many deaths, he finally mastered the lizard's attack patterns. With this, the swordsman uses his sword art and strikes a blow to the monster's chest. He enjoys the madness to climb on the back of the huge reddish creature. To your surprise, the bug goes into berserk mode, getting even more dangerous than before. The young man admits his carelessness, but luckily you weren't too disappointed in his fury. Facing the giant beast, the warrior prepares for the great decisive confrontation. He calms down and confidently says that this time will surely win the battle. With your body shining blue, he advances to the final attack against the dragon. He advances with the sword, aim fist and aim directly at the head of that creature. Huge, but the monster is fast and tries to snap at it. Then, he uses his speed to escape with his serious face. The warrior prepares to take advantage of its small size. He says that being small has its advantages and diverts from the breath of fire with ease. In this, the swordsman uses a powerful technique and goes on a pretty accurate attack. The blow hits full, and the giant creature falls to the ground, raising a lot of dust. So the hero uses his energy to create a character and defend against the impact of the beast. Even hurt, the dragon roars and prepares yet another powerful burst of flames. With this, the boy strikes back with a beam of light that hits the bug right in the mouth. The monster is finally defeated, and a message congratulates the young man for winning the order. With the victory, her agility increases and he prepares for the next battles to come. In that, the system informs that he has completed 5 waves and won a visualization method. The boy remembers that the school teaches a similar method, but only for mental masters. He thinks the more he fights, more good items he wins. But a new wave is approaching. Up in your room, he realizes that the new enemies are too strong for him now. So he decides to check the new method. A visualization you just won. As a prize, buy the item. It is transported to a strange space full of water. Dived inside, the warrior is faced with that dark and scary creature. With several eyes, that giant being wore top face. And your presence is overwhelming and very intimidating. So he understands this is a test, and just look at the monster to be judged. Back to your room. The boy meditates, and an hour, bright blue covers your whole body. At this time, your sister opens the door and calls him to dinner with the rest of the family. But she is surprised when seeing the brother's body all muscular and the flame of beautiful. With a smile on my face, he is glad with his little hands repeating praise. Playing with her, he asks if he wasn't pretty before it and mess up all your hair on it. The girl is all ashamed. Already dressed, he thinks this was made from the new method and warns you that you are going to the exam. So your dad says goodbye with a smile and asks her son, be careful on the way. Arriving at the test site, he enters the gymnasium of the #1 school in the city of Ian, stretching her body. The hero feels that the visualization method made him much stronger. With this, the bully approaches and makes fun of him staying out of school for 2 years. The Brutman crew surrounds the brunette and calls him a philanthropist for helping the weak without. He said he's better than someone who didn't even pass the academic exams. Or protagonist smiles and says that if the rival didn't hear right, can't take the test. He still teases, saying you didn't name names, so the shell served for someone. Oemigo arrives to fight aside and says assessment is the most important thing now. With anger, the villain walks away and tells the boy to wait, because he will get along very badly. Concerned colleague says he's fried, but the hero doesn't seem to care one bit. The friend explains that the uncle of that baddie is now the school's new dean of students. And they still say that the dean leaked the test questions to help his. A voice announces that the martial exam will have a test of strength and then a combat duel. The protagonist calms the friend and talk to not worry, because the test is about to begin. The first evaluation uses the system where the last place of each group eliminated on time. Thinking no duel that will come, the boy decides it's better to save some energy. Your strategy, then, is to use speed to win, and a blue hour wraps around your fist. But the rival looks pretty confident and says he has strength to spare, so pass with ease. The evaluation of the first group begins, and the 2 opponents take each other very seriously. In this, the bully hits a powerful punch in the punch bag. With all your strength, the blow is so strong that the shock wave plays another corpse far away. The friends of the splurge believe and say that his strength is nearly 1400. One of the henchmen smiles and says that with the boss first, someone will be eliminated. The hero's turn, and he also throws a punch. With everything in the test equipment, the instructor is shocked, for the rookie scored 1500 Jin. With low life intensity, the young man's friend keeps his mouth open and wonders when he got so amazing like this. The teacher analyzes that this force is normal and suspect advanced martial skill. With this, he gets curious and asks his assistant, bring the file of that poison. Reading the document, the man sees that the boy has a very high proficiency, even after suspension. Back on the court, the hero prepares and thinks about testing his rival's strength. During the afternoon, the second part of the exam will be a combat duel in a large fight ring. Then the instructor calls the students pro stage, and the first name announced is that of the protagonist. The name announced for the combat is from his rival, and he smiles with a very evil look at the opponent. In this, the students doubt the hero's victory, because you think brute force doesn't win the martial fight. The bully points his spear and warns that the boy's fate is over, and he will be defeated now. Then the brunette responds with a calm smile and says he waits. See all that mirror during the duel. At this time, the villain starts to spin his weapon, puts on a very strong trail of orange energy. With this, the protagonist pulls out his sword and prepares to block the attack that comes your way. He deflects with agility as the opponent tries to hit blows in a row. Very angry, the brute gets angry and realizes that your target is much faster than in the last fight. Even so, it activates your magical aura and swears he'll join the elite class. Anyway, in that, an explosion of sparks happens, when the spear and the blade collide with immense violence, but the young warrior cuts through the air with ease, begins to dominate the rhythm of that confrontation. The slack screams with fury and advances with the final blow to try to win this dispute once. He jumps from a height huge and comes down with all its weight to reach or opponent on the floor. In quanto, the hero analyzes that fighting people, it's very different. The enemy rotates like the flames, but the boy keeps calm and watches every movement. With the quick push, the brunette leaves a blue trail on the ground and approaches, pro counter-attack, then a massive shock of energies make the rain shake and lift a huge cloud of dust. Enjoying the lighting, the swordsman's a cut of light crosses the entire defense of the rival with impact. The villain feels the blow and staggers back, completely losing steam in the fight, but a red hand holds a hidden knife, indicating that the dirty game will start now. The hero faces the instructor, while your opponent, Colin, recovers after final blow of contest. The fast movement, the brunette hits a straight slap, who throws the rival away from the fighting stage. In this, the bully is stretched on the ground, to a bully knocked out and not understanding anything that happened. So the other students are in shock when he saw that the baddie of the gang won with size and ease. At this time, the medical team removed the stretcher, while the next duel is already announced, but the teacher calls the protagonist for a private conversation. Right after the end of that dispute, the man with red hair observes the young man with a very serious and analytical look. At that moment, with this, the boy apologizes for not having controlled his brute strength well during combat. Martial, the master reassures and says that wounds are normal and send him plenty of rest at home. But the instructor realizes that the hero won without suffering any scratches because of its pure technique. Walking down the hall, the young man plans your next steps to enter the dream special class. Arriving in your room, he faces the virtual combat alliance that all elite students have. He remembers that the equipment allows you to fight against digital simulations of other great warriors. With virtual audio, it is possible to face opponents of similar levels to gain experience, real because of time training in crystal space. The boy is still at the bronze level in the system. Then the hero plugs the cable into the outlet. Decided to climb your ranking as fast as you can today. That's where the brunette gets into the machine to try to reach the famous list of young geniuses from all over the world. This classification is globally recognized, and no student from your school is currently in it. With the curtain closed, the protagonist prepares to show all your true power. Marhiel, soon the warrior appears in a bluish digital environment, ready for your first major virtual challenge. He decides to start with a warm-up match to test your skills in the cloud. Virtual, with this, a cute kid wearing a pig mask appears as its representation in the online game. Holding your sword, the boy wonders, where is the opponent that the system chose for the fight? Suddenly, a girl appears behind him and says his reaction, it was too slow for a warrior. But the young man manages to block the girl's surprise attack with the rapid movement of your sword. At that, the girl praises his speed and says that in real fights, no waiting to attack the enemy. The hero gets angry and warns him he won't give it another chance for the sneaky attack like this. Then the two begin the intense exchange of blows, and the brunette wears her blue aura with the quick movement. He uses the straw dragon stalking technique to catch the rival by surprise. The girl shocks, for he recognized the blow and asks why he used it as a sword cut. She explains that the martial arts must not cling to specific forms and need more freedom. At this time, the boy has a revelation and understands that you don't have to follow the rules of the technique. But he gets confused, wondering how that girl managed to recognize his secret ability. Opponent takes advantage of his and leaves for a new attack with its sharp daggers. The masked one is scared by her strength and tries to find out what is your opponent's fighting style. With a final blow, the girl hits him head-on and says he was careless. The score shows the boy's defeat, and he complains he could have won if it weren't for the surprise attack already on the menu. He thinks of the girl's words about focusing more on the essence of martial art. The young man remembers that he still does not dominate totally your sword technique and your killer attribute. Then he has an idea and decided to test this new line of thought in another fight. Virtual. Now your new challenge is a giant brute who uses a huge iron ball as a combat weapon. With this, the boy despairs and complains that the system offensive against enemies many appeals. Even so, he doesn't give up and advances with his blue aura to trap the big one with a blow. He believes the advantage is yours because your martial art is stronger than your opponent's. In that, the young man tries another attack, but the man said he has a strong technique. It's not all in one fight. The brute then turns his weapon and attacks with everything. But the masked man seems to have a plan in mind. With a fast movement, the hero dodges and the big guy gets angry. With all this agility, the masked man faces his rival with confidence and prepares a quick and accurate counterattack. With your breeze technique in the forest, the boy diverts from the attack and surprises the enemy with his agility. The opponent is shocked that he is gone, and the hero takes the opportunity to appear right behind the big one. The big guy wonders how he disappeared, and at that the hero uses the pale dragon's thrust, with the victor or mass. Uses your dragon stalking technique, hail and finish off your enemy. He ended up finally having successfully used the technique for the first time in real combat. Then the boy reflects on the true meaning of being skillful with a sharp sword. He understands that skill is not limited to forms, and can be hard or smooth as water flow. Technique can also be as fast as, or fluid and calm like a stream, quiet. With this, he realizes that his final technique wanted to teach you about the versatility of a blade. The swordsman concludes that the sword is an undefined weapon, and its use, it just depends on the warrior. Leaving simulation, the young man realizes that he is starving after so much intense training. At this time, your bracelet shines and warns you that he entered the top 10,000 of the list. Blue star. The boy is shocked by the news and can hardly believe what just happened. Or system shows he is the first placed on the list of young people in your city, and district with a confident smile, he called. Because now your place in the elite class is guaranteed. The next day, the young man arrives at the #1 school in Liang City, very quietly. On the way, he sees several needles thrown on the ground, and keep walking without caring much. A man calls him by name, and complains that he didn't greet. With a good student, the man introduces himself as the rival's uncle, him, and starts scolding the boy. Right there, how to look confused. The boy greets the teacher, and wonder who that guide is. Rival's uncle accuses him of not wearing uniform. School correctly, as the rule goes. Some students laughing at the situation, and the man tells them all to be silent. Immediately several students start gossiping and spreading that the hero used drugs to win. The teacher uses a stick to punish the boy. Says everything he wears is uneven. The protagonist is left without understanding anything, and says your clothes follow all the school rules. The man gets angry and tries to hit the young man, but he holds the stick very easily and firmly. Rival's uncle threatens him with expulsion, but a powerful voice interrupts the quarrel of the two. The boy holds the stick and asks calmly who is looking for him. At that moment, two important men approach, and one of them is the school principal, and the other is the mayor. The rival's uncle run to accuse the young man of misbehavior in front of all students. The director ignores the confusion and look to the boy with a kind and friendly smile. Then the director asks if he is the famous Xando, and the boy confirms his identity. At the same moment, the mayor explains that came to see the boy who came first on the list. Everyone is shocked by the news and realize that the protagonist didn't need drugs to win. The director warns that he will be transferred to the class Onzi, and the jealous teacher falls to the floor. In the meeting room, the three best students in town are presented to local leaders. The first is the hero, the second is the class rival, and the third is the protagonist's colleague. Without really knowing each other, the three young people just greet each other with a nod. The mayor begins to explain that the 100 district cities will have a competition between competitors. Each city will send its 3 best students, based on internight martial arts ranking. The tournament will be harassed in the city of Ray, and led by a martial artist, above level 15. The top 10 place will earn extra points in the entrance exam, and cash prizes. With a serious look, the mayor asks if they are willing to participate of this great event. The hero's colleague question because the competition will not use the virtual combat format from school. The man replies that the actual fight is stricter and that there will be protection for students. The boy analyzes that with his current level and daily learning, he can be in the top 3. The mayor still warns that even without a victory, the tournament serves to measure the level of rivals. With a confident smile, the protagonist raises his hand and confirms its participation in the event. The other 2 students also agree to participate and joins the challenge of safety. The leader fell and says that the true heroes, emerging young warriors like them, already in the hall. Brunette thinks this is his chance to help your family, financially determined. He swears you'll be in the top 3 of the tournament to change your life. At this time, he notices that the tables have no names and decides to sit down anywhere vague for now. But suddenly, someone screams for him to disappear and asks if the rookie thinks he is worthy of occupying that place. Then the giant glow stare at the boy from above with a very intimidating look and full of superiority. With this, the brunette is not intimidated and faces the big guy, showing that he is not afraid of any provocation. In that, the hero wonders what they lived in for someone still trying to do at school. At that moment, the hero's colleague intervenes, explaining that the rookie still don't know the rules of the class. Surprise, unknown protagonist, that the other boy approached in silence and has a level of power very high. Then the giant decides to leave the hero alone for now, just because of his colleague's intervention. With this, friend explains that in the elite class, a hierarchy is defined by the exact number of each He tells that the last 10 placed in the monthly ranking to study standing up during the whole month. At this time, the boy is impressed by the competitive pressure giant that exists within this class, but the colleague warns that now at the beginning of the month, the young man will have to challenge someone to earn your place. Curious, the protagonist asks if there are other advantages, in addition to being able to sit during all classes, and because he thinks the answer will determine how much strength must use during their next duel, in that the friend confirms that the higher your ranking, the better the rewards for learning. He explains that the position defines the amount of resources that the student will receive throughout the month. Then, seeing that there are valuable resources at play, Brunette decides it's worth looking for the best place. With this, the instructor warns that the class will begin and send everyone to the next combat room. At this time, the master explains that the challenger can fight 3 times, and you will gain a number by your strength. So the brunette raises his hand with confidence and announces that he wants to challenge the student, last placed. The instructor suffered when seeing the challenge, and worries about the rookie boy's absurd boldness. At this, students scream in shock, because nobody expected such a direct challenge against the top 10. So the master assesses that the skills are good, but the boy's vital energy is very low. With this, Brown focuses on the reward and realizes that the 10th place earns a lot more resources. At this time, the young warrior decides that the risk offsets the prize and prepares for duel. But the giant opponent, secure a colossal hammer and mocks your little challenger's courage. He stares at the hero with and wonders if the rookie really knows where you're getting. The brute laughs loudly and warns that the boy's bad luck started the moment he opened the mouth with serious look. The instructor tells the big guy to put the equipment and enter the arena. Then the master smiles, thinking that this defeat will serve as a bitter lesson to the hero. Now in the Ravel walks to the center of the ring. Your heavy weapon. With both ready, the start signal, soul, and attention, take care of the whole DM at that school. The villain screams that will make the hero cry and beg, out of mercy, before all there. But the protagonist activates his blue aura and calmly replies that they will see who falls first. At that moment, the boy observes the reflection of the attack coming and keeps full focus on movement. The big one attacks with everything and says the brunette's reaction is too slow for an elite fighter. So colleagues comment that the difference in level between the two, it's big and the end is near. On the other hand, the instructor notes that the hero's standard of living rose very fast. In a single day, the villain already won the early victory, and screams that the dispute is over for his opponent once and for all. But the impact of the hammer raises the dust, and the hero moves with impressive speed. There the brute is totally shocked, and let out a scream of surprise when seeing fast brown movement. In that giant attempts a final blow, but the young man bends down with agility and prepares his own technique. With a smile confident in the face, the hero realizes the perfect moment for the counter-attack arrive. Then the boy rubs a blow of blue energy that hits the opponent's chest with absurd force. With the impact, big guy is thrown up and flies several meters away from the ring. The villain falls heavily to the floor of the arena, and it is totally knocked out after taking that one-time attack. At this time, everyone notices he used the pale dragon thrust with a mastery, simply amazing. But the instructor holds the protagonist's arm and asks how he reached level 1 so fast. So he faces the young man with a look of pure astonishment, because evolving so much in one night is almost impossible. With the expression, Brunette points to himself and asks if the master is talking to him. Then the teacher pulls himself together and announces a loud voice that the big winner of the duel is the Xandu student. In that, the crowd of students starts to gossip about how a lower level won someone so strong. One of the boys comments that he didn't expect to see a late genius emerging in such an impactful way at school. The instructor asks if he wants to continue the challenges, but the hero decides to stop in 10th place. At this time, a colleague in a cap approaches with his cell phone and asks to add Morio to the networks. With a graceless smile, the boy accepts the invitation, while other students also try to make suggestions. Suddenly, the defeated plays at the feet of the protagonist and beg for forgiveness in a very pathetic way. And Quantuiza, the light-haired master, watches the boy from afar with successful thinking. But he warns that the student must appear in your classroom right after the end of all classes for the day. Already in the office, the hero finds an elegant man sitting. May the bro come in and be at ease. The instructor asks the director about admission vacancies, especially to the best universities in the country. The man with the mustache tells him to sit down, and the master explains and wants to give the new student a chance. In that, the director warns that the minimum requirement is to have a skill level martial, a perfect. But the teacher insists and tell the boss to test the young man, because he has equipment for it. Then, the director points to the dummy and asks the boy, use the same blow as the fight before. With a serious expression, the boy concentrates and prepares all his power for the test now. Your eyes shine with determination, while he focuses all his energy for the decisive attack. With this, the young warrior in his sword and prepares to show your true strength. There he uses the pale dragon thrust and a burst of blue energy. Destroy the test ball. The director is shocked as the rookie reached the perfect level in just one night. Dull. The boy apologizes for breaking the equipment, but he didn't expect to be so strong. Excited, the master screams that the boy is a combat genius and that your instinct is very rare. He says he has never seen a student with such a sharp instinct, and the boy gets tense. With the compliment, the director agrees and decides to give him the first place resources for your special training. With the expression or protagonist, raise your hand and ask, what is this special admission? The master explains that to enter the best schools, you need to have a very high standard of living. The young man listens carefully because you know that your current level is still a long way from what is needed, but with special ability, he just needs to be the perfect level 1 month before the final test. The boy then asks if you can go to Manhwa University. A case he passes on this admission. The teacher is confused and does not understand why. Because the resources of all are very similar. He remembers a tragedy from the past as rays light up the sky of their dark memory. 6 years ago, the Westlake City was attacked by surprise by a police race of giants. With this, local heroes and neighboring towns came together to fight the imminent threat. But the strength of the enemies was great, and hundreds of thousands of people died in battle with this memory. The young man hopes his family can live in peace and very safely. He also wants to get strong enough to be able to protect your city from any great crisis. In this, the instructor realizes that the boy is a young man, responsible and capable of great achievements in the future. The master understands that this kind of thinking usually comes from someone who has lost everything in their life. The director explains that the special admission will lock you up to one of those 2 schools. With this, the teacher said that if he does well in the tournament, your vacancy and score will be guaranteed. With a smile on my face, the boy thanks the director and the master and says he'll think about it. Leaving school, he reflects that the sensation is still more than a month away. Then the warrior decided to live in a special room at school to fully focus on your learning. He thinks about using medicine to accelerate your progress and go to the palace. Technology martial. It turns out that there are 3 great forces that protect humanity, and the extreme martial palace is one of them. In that the second is the technology martial palace that focuses on increasing the strength of humanity. And the third is the display of martial artists, which is responsible for maintaining general public order. The young man remembers that the founder of the technology palace was a genius who greatly helped humanity. Arriving at the place, he asks to buy 3 boxes of 1 pill, rare of blood, and the attendant is speechless. Because I didn't expect someone so young went to buy that item. Attendant warns that in order to purchase the pill, he needs to pass a stamina test first. She explains that if the user doesn't concentrate for 30 minutes, because of the risk, the young man needs to pass the test, and he puts his hand on the machine to start. With a confident look, the boy warned the girl that he is completely ready for the challenge now. In that, he starts the test on the machine, and the attendant observes everything very carefully. And females, but the equipment breaks, and the girl is shocked. With that young man's absurd resistance, then, brunette leaves the room and calls technical support, warning them that their machine has broken again. Already in your room, the warrior reads the instructions and sees that the maximum, that's 3 pills a day for the purpose. He thinks the store test was easy, and that the pain was just 50% of a single pill. With this, the Demon King took 3 at once, because you think you can handle the pain 10 times greater. But the instant he swallows the meds, unbearable pain hits your body. At this time, several blue rays covers the boy and he screams, feeling every muscle contract strongly, even sweating cold. The young man smiles with a challenging look and asks if that's all the pill can do. After a while, the pain finally passes, and he breathes, relieved to have managed to last until the end. A notification warns that your life intensity has increased, and he ended up being closer to his goal. But he realizes that his body can only handle the batteries for 10 days and your money only lasts 55. Because of this, he understands who needs to be in the top 2 of the tournament. The side effect of the batteries makes it temporarily unable to move because of the energy. Since your body is tired, he decides to enter crystal space to train just a little. But suddenly, someone starts knocking too hard on the door from your room and interrupts it on time. The next day, the hero thinks that even without beating the giant, your mental power has improved a lot. With this, he sits and reflects on your training and the arrival of school resources. He remembers that subsidies have finally arrived and that he is looking forward to starting class today. In the classroom, a teacher, Rifhin, warns that he will teach the advanced method of combat. In this, the boy realizes that the power of the structure is above level 15 and is impressed. She explains that the greater the martial skill, the harder it is to develop physical strength. With this, mental power concentrates all its strength in a single point to increase explosive power. This ability to use each drop of body strength is known as attachment of mental power. But the woman warns you not to focus on that now, because life intensity is more important. So the structure said it will test the power mental of all students and send them to get up. She will use a flute to play the song of exhaustion and measure the resistance of each. There with a smile, she said the beginner can choose not to participate, as it does not affect your grade. The young man gets confused, not understanding why she is offering this option. Just for him, a moment, he understands that she underestimates him and, with a confident smile, warns that you will participate in the test. The teacher thinks he is too combative, and that other students are novices in this regard. She decides to keep an eye on him, to help you when you fail, and prepares to start playing. With a determined look, or protagonist, prepares to play with all his mental strength. At this the other students scream excitedly. The instructor starts playing the exhaustion song, and a magical energy surrounds your whole body. Or Barone listens to the melody with peace of mind and seems not be affected by her skill. A dark and giant figure appears behind the boy and challenges him to mental combat, intense, in that the hero is surprised, but prepares to fight. The physical image of the instructor, with the powerful kick, he attacks the dark figure, and recognizes the technique used by the teacher. He smiles confidently and leaves, on top of the enemy to show all his power and skill. The woman is shocked to see that he not only resisted, how he also manages to fight toe-to-toe. With a serene smile, the young warrior shows that her mental pressure is nothing to him, and impressed, the teacher admits that the power, the boy's mind is much stronger than she imagined. Then she decides, increase skill level, to test the true limit of novice learning. In quanto eso, several students fall to the ground, exhausted and unable to get up. Because of the pressure, the instructor realizes that most could not stand it, but focuses his attention on the only one still standing. With a curious look, she wonders if the boy can shoot to this new level of power. The woman is shocked, for even with increased strength, the brunette is still standing, and without any problems. Colleagues gossip that the young man is bored and would have no way to buy items to train power, in that the big one who lost to him fell, for the hero's strength proves that he was not weak. The protagonist's colleague faces his rival, and the two prepare for the mental power confrontation. The brute falls exhausted on the floor, and the teacher thinks that the rookie held out longer than the first in the class. With a serious look, she decides to test level 8 of mental power, to see if he can handle it. The boy feels the strength build up and starts to get panting with the new test difficulty level. But your blue aura shines, and he summons his own energy giant to fight against the teacher. With this, the two energy giants start an epic battle. With several blows and bursts of power, the teacher's energy giant attacks with a punch. Heavy, and the boy feels the crushing pressure with the impact. He suffered, and realizes it's reaching its limit, maximum resistance. At this the young man falls on his knees, panting and without the strength to continue fighting that pressure. The instructor is shocked, for his mental power affects your body. What a true miracle. She runs to the director's room and screams that the rookie has a rare double talent, pro combat. In the room, the woman personally confirms what she saw, and the master smiles. They agree with the news. With hair standing up in excitement, the director said the boy has potential for level 20. He warns that such talent should go to one of the top 3 universities, world marshals. With a determined smile, the instructor beats continence and accepts his boss's new mission. Arriving at the office, the brunette asks why he was called to that conversation with the teacher. The master asks if he knows the university, Black Dragon, and the boy said he knows little about her. So the man explains that these schools recruit only geniuses who can become flying artists. For that, it requires a life intensity of 9.9 and a mid-level martial art. He still warns that few students can pay the medicine to achieve all this power. Or protagonist, listen to everything in silence and think carefully about this very important proposal. He decides to try the university selection, but thinks he doesn't want to leave his family behind, even with a tight heart. Young man shows a look full of determination. For your instructor, the master says he can use the other schools as a plan B. For the future, the tournament of cities will happen in a month, and he needs to focus on it. Coming home, your brother calls for breakfast, and he replies that he is already going. The girl with cat ears notices her brother looks like completely different before her, think he got prettier, and your aura is much more mysterious and imposing. The young man warns the family that he will live at school to focus on your training, pro-tournament. With this, the mother cares about his health, and the strange sister, he got a door now. The boy calms his mother down and says that school has given to him many resources for his training. He explains that the students of the elite class wins a private martial arts room. In this the father is proud, and tells him to ask for help if you need anything. With a smile on my face, the man tells his son just go ahead. With determination, the young man finishes eating, and warns that he is already leaving for school. Train a lot. So the family says goodbye and wishes the boy good luck in his new challenge. Already at school, he sees the resources and thinks martial arts are a sport for the rich. The warrior uses the access card to enter your new special training room. With this, he decides that from now on, we'll only focus on your intensive training. Already inside the room, the boy asks for the artificial intelligence system. Increase gravity. Then the training doll comes, and the system confirms your new master's command. The young man feels the weight on his body and finds it interesting. Fight in such extreme conditions. At this time, a new boxing robot emerges in the fourth round of practice. Finally, it blocks the blow, but you realize you can't take it. The head-on attacks in gravity. With this, the hero dodges the punch and decides to change the frequency of his attack. But the robot analyzes and suggests that it reduces unnecessary movements. The robot attacks on top and below at the same time, closing all escape routes for our brave hero. Since you can't dodge, the boy decides to make the opponent feel the weight of gravity. Bent, stepping hard on the ground, it activates the command, and the pressure in the room increases a lot at this time. With this, the young warrior uses his blade to block the impact and counterattack the enemy. Continues. The metal opponent falls silently, releasing a lot of smoke, and seems to have finally been defeated. But the machine's eyes shine red, indicating that she will use your last combat resource. At this time, Robot grabs Brunette with everything, and he is outraged by this unexpected cheating. They're immobilized on the ground. The hero orders the system to close the gravity state so he can breathe, feeling your body on the edge. Young man decides to use visualization method to strengthen your mind. Transported to a dark space, the warrior faces the depths of a sea, red and yellow. Before a giant monster, he screams, asking for experience points to increase your level. Back to the real world. A notice warns that his mental power has risen. While he calmly meditates, trying to get up, the boy realizes that his leg is totally dormant and feels a boring nuisance. The brunette notices that his physical body still hasn't recovered from all the heavy training. With no other choice, the protagonist throws himself on the ground and decides to get some sleep to replenish your energy. Opening your eyes right after, the boy feels renewed and ready to face a new martial challenge. He enters crystal space again, determined to refine your combat skills. With the sword moving its feet with agility, or swordsman positions himself to face the enemies that are emerging. The giant of green fire appear, and the hero remembers that he could not defeat none of them in the past, but this time him at steal his gun with firmness and swears it will test your strength against these beasts. Now, the robot attacks, and the hero realizes his blow. It's too heavy to defend. With this, the young warrior looks at the enemy with the air of great surprise, in that he understands that the green spots on the beasts actually by healing energy. But the boy advances with his sword and decides, focus on destroying those marks first. At this time, the fighter feels that his body control improved a lot with the audio, so the brunette makes a cut, accurate and fast against the giant monster's body there. With that accurate blow, the creature finally falls defeated, releases a lot of smoke. With this, or sword him still, the next rivals and feels ready for war. At that moment, the young man trains tirelessly, seeking to reach the top of the tournament. Finally, the day of the competition in city arrives, and the city of Ray is crowded. Entering a luxury hotel, the boy is impressed with so much beauty and wealth, but he notices a mess at reception and wonders why he doesn't let the guy in. The brute fighter screams with the attendant and requires an explanation of the delay. With this, the employee is scared, while the villain bangs on the table very angry. At this time, the hero feels a dangerous aura. The boy analyzes that the martial level of that subject must be almost like his. Suddenly, a beautiful girl with purple hair observes the scene with a very calm look. Then the foam of the sea orders you to leave. The boy signs the entry document. Students comment that the young woman is much prettier than in internet photos. In that, the friend warns the brunette to forget the girl, for she is too sandy for him. The friend explains that this girl is called Judge Xiaogu, and the famous daughter of the local school principal. At this time, the hero remembers he's seen that face before, and recognizes the girl from virtual combat. He realizes she's the same camper who ambushed him in the game, and be surprised with its real beauty. With this, the young man thinks coming to this tournament in the essence of the city, it was really the right choice. While tea and 50 on the table, students gather to listen to the new competition rules. Then the instructor warns that there will be an extra stage of battle for emblems before the qualifiers. Curious, the protagonist asks about the details of this new rule to better understand the challenge. The master explains that the tournament lasts 3 days, and the first phase will be in a very dangerous forest. At this stage, young people need to capture 2 types of badges, different in the time of 13 hours. After getting the items, they must run to the finish line to ensure the classification. In this, the hero asks the total amount of emblems and discovers that only 50 teams pass. The teacher warns that the second round will be a kill. one-on-one kills, with very little rest. At this time, colleagues are relieved, because they don't need to face the protagonist face logo. But the master reinforces that the top 10 earn extra points in the entrance exam and cash prizes. He explains that the champion need to have stamina and strength to last 3 days in a row, a fight. With a very serious look, the instructor lifts his finger and says he has one last point, very important. He strictly forbids any death. For the true enemy of mankind are the aliens. At this time, our leader says everyone will wear clothes, special to make the strength level flexible. The man warns that if he needs to intervene, or student will be eliminated, and asks everyone to do their best. With this, a trio of students scream in full force, confirming that they are ready to win the race. The hero faces the landscape and wonders if it is in front of you is really a dense forest. The organizer introduces himself as the school director and explains that he owns the big tournament. It shows the location and tells, there is a dimensional split. Call of Spirit Kingdom. At this young man get thoughtful, knowing that strange place is full of dangerous monsters, but man guarantees everyone's safety. For a very powerful warrior has certified space. So he makes a serious alert, warning that the test is life-threatening, and everyone must take care of themselves. With this, our leader points to the lonely boy, and warns that he will have teammates. At this time, our protagonist observes the brunette, and wonders why he seems so there. Right after, the system performs iris authentication to authorize the entry of immigrants. With permission granted, the big gate opens, and students prepare to enter the forest. Then the group crosses the passage, and finally arrives in the famous forest of spiritual wolves. The director explains that he will use a magic circle to bring the young people back, in case something goes wrong. He said that among 300 points, only 100 have emblems, and wishes good luck to competitors. With the notice given, the energy circle starts to glow brightly to activate the trance. In it, a blinding light covers the whole environment, while students are teleported for good. As soon as the brightness decreases, the hero opens his eyes and tries to get used to the new scenario. He watches the giant trees and wonders if that place is really the place. Spiritual Kingdom. At that moment, the colleague check the digital map and ask where they must follow now. With a smile or groan, no an item nearby, and decides to check if the badge is true. So friends agree to the plan and prepare to start the search. Arriving at the isolated location, they find a huge stone pillar in the middle of that closed forest. With this, the hero presses the glowing button on the totem pole to try rescue the first badge of the race. That brunette realizes it was lucky and comment with friends about finding the item so fast. Suddenly, one of the colleagues yells at everyone to be careful because he felt danger coming from the ground. At this time, several arrows fired by a trap flew in the direction of the group. The boy is surprised to notice that other police officers were even faster. This here, in that someone steps on a pressure plate and the bunch enemy approaches with weapons drawn. There the team of the City of Color appears, demands that the heroes hand over all badges right now. They explain that the biggest cities tend to have the strongest warriors of this whole tournament. In the auditorium, the spectators watch the tense confrontation through the giant screens. The rival director, Leon Master Zombo, and says he will pay the tickets back from the losers. With a sarcastic smile, the hero asks if the lose really think you can eliminate it alone. The villain gets angry and warns that they better obey if they don't want to leave the race disappointed. Then the brunette hits, saying the size of the city does not define who is the most powerful fighter. The enemy advances with your spear and swears that the protagonist's group will be the first to fall today. He shouts that he will become the king of spears and attacks with Kiri to try to subdue the young brunette. At this time, criminals prepare to help. But the weather gets extremely heavy there. Very calmly, the boy tells his partners, leave all that mess in his hands. With its blue aura shining brightly, the warrior warns that he will face the rival gang alone. At that moment, the colleague observes the power of the hero and realizes that he will use a secret technique. The enemy trio leaps with his spears and screams that the hero doesn't know the immensity of the spirit world, but the leader of the gang is scared to see that the brunette blocked the joint attack very easily. Over there on that, the villain squeezes the handle of his gun tightly and wonders how level 5 can be so crude. Then the boy analyzes that the opponent is strong, but you realize that the other two are much weaker than him. At this time, the warrior activates his attachment, level 9 mental power, and your eyes shine blue. With this, the hero holds his sword firmly, prepares to strike a single blow against the three. Suddenly, an explosion of energy happens when the swordsman uses his art of flowing light to attack. The brunette uses the first posture of his technique and creates a prison of light that envelops the entire fighting field. In that, opponents are thrown back, and the leader of the gang is in shock after receiving the impact. But the protagonist steps firmly on the ground and remains calm. As you watch your rivals fall into the forest, 2 henchmen lie on the floor. Cold sweating, the villain gets scared and questions how much brute force. That young man really owns it now. So the boy decides to end the fight, and focuses on the strongest enemy to end the dispute once and for all with the blade pointed at the rival's neck. Morno uses the second posture of golden drums. At this time, the tournament instructor appears and touches the tip of the sword to stop the attack. Decisive, but the Slack screams that he can still fight, and does not accept be eliminated by a student from a small town. The white man points to the villain's torn clothes, and confirms that he lost the official duel. There he explains that the attack power of the hero reached level 7, and that no one could block it. The master analyzes the talent of the protagonist, and think he is far superior to the other geniuses of the school. With this, the instructor walks away, and believes that the young man will be an unbeatable force in every martial future. Then the hair rival, Erd, says goodbye, and says he awaits the protagonist in the tournament finals. In that, the defeated opponent rises, and asks the hero's name, because he admires his great shape. With a confident smile, the brunette replies that his name is the first place in the championship. Back to the auditorium, spectators see the result of the fight, with the victory of our brave hero. Then the rival instructor makes fun of the master, they lay out, and ask when he wants the return ticket. A leader comments that there are 4 perfect students, but the other corrects him saying there are only 3. Spectators get confused, because the team of Leon is already on his way out with the only emblem. Colleagues get scared with Brunette's plan, and they ask if he will face that using wings. The boy explains that with his strength, picking up 2 badges would be easy, but he has another goal in mind. With a determined look, the young man reveals that his real plan is to beat all. Continues, he explains who really needs the million prize. To help your family live better. The hero lifts 3 fingers and begins to explain your strategy for the friends who are with him. He said the 3 strongest are from other cities, and ambush one of them now is the best chance. The colleague questions the plan, but the young man says if you don't, he might not make the top 3. He explains the logic of the tournament, and how the strongest players don't face each other. In the second phase, he suspects the tournament is arranged to favor the hosts of the city of Ray. In the dispute, with the serious look, the boy shows that he is fully determined to follow with your risky plan. Then he wonders if he can defeat 3 fighters. Perfect in just 2 tournament days.